Welcome back to Playing the Game, episode 13, lucky 13, or is it 12? I think it's 13. What I want you to do for me right now is I want you to click the follow or subscribe button if you're on YouTube, Spotify. That would mean a world for me if you could do that, and it just shows that I have more than 3 listeners. I appreciate you for tuning in. Today, we have Jesse Wolter-Smith on the podcast. This episode will drop 3 days before we both go to Melbourne to do Hyrox. So I sit down and I quiz him about Hyrox, how to tackle each station, how he stays consistent through training and keeps up his motivation. And we just have a good old yarn. So I thank you for watching. Click follow, click subscribe, and let's get into it. If you could only have one cuisine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
That's probably an easy one for myself. It's probably not so much as a cuisine, but I think I could probably eat mince and rice for the rest of my life.
Mince and rice. So you can choose anything. You're still going with your mince and rice.
Yeah, either that or Italian. I think I could probably feast on Italian for the rest of my life.
Let's break down your mince and rice, because anyone who knows you knows that mince and rice is your, 6 nights a week?
Yeah, pretty much. We say actually with the family too, mince and rice is very nice. It's just a bit of a staple from Monday to Friday usually. It feeds me and sets me and gets me ready for the week and my training.
With your training, obviously, do you track your nutrition and value with the mince and rice? Is there a reason you went that particular? Do you have eggs with it? What's the sort of go behind there? How much nutrition does it actually provide you?
I don't track or sort of set goals with anything like that, but I'm just looking for sort of mass at the moment, and I know it's got like a rich carbohydrate mix full of protein, and then I like to put some extra eggs in there or chop up some veggies and put some stuff in there, so I'm still getting all my vitamins and everything like that.
What do most people get wrong about Hyrox, the actual event itself? What surprised you the most when you completed the event?
I don't know, really sort of just being everyone. You probably come in underprepared. You train, you can train your entire year, 6 months leading up to it, but you don't really expect once you finish the event, you sort of like, oh wow, like it was a lot different to what I actually thought it was going to be or how it ended up. And there are so many takeaways from doing your first Hyrox, and that's definitely what I've learned in doing my first one.
So I'm 2 weeks away, 2 weeks and 1 day from doing my first one. You said there's some key takeaways that you learned from your first one. Give us a few takeaways that might help me when I'd go into the rocks.
Yeah, for sure. 2 weeks, it's very exciting. What I learned from my first one, I thought, was using your smartwatch to track your times for the runs. I just left it on like a cardio setting, but really added no benefit to what I was doing, just showed me my calories at the end of the event. So there's no sort of tracker as to how fast you're running with your times. And you might be overlapping, heaps of people, but you don't really sort of know or understand what times you're running. So that will definitely aid in how I'm going to go due to what time I'm going to be setting.
So you're suggesting put it on the running feature?
Yeah, go on the running feature and then you can hit lap. And then it will just give you your 1K times, and you can average off that once you go into the rock zone and then go from there. Yeah.
Anything else?
Probably run the rock zone. When you come in, there's nutrition aid, and you got your water and whatever electrolytes they might offer you there. So definitely utilize those, but just keeping moving, I think, and pushing forward into the next event. You got to find where you get your break, and for me, running is generally my breather. So I'm going to be coming out of my runs and going into the exercise probably like a bit harder, and then coming out, gathering my breath and settling my heart rate, and then just doing that for a full hour.
Which station surprised you the most?
The burpee broad jumps. They are just an all body experience. They just really knuckled me down and just made me think, what am I doing here? That, and I think the wall balls right at the end, 100 of them. For me, it was 6 kilos. So just pushing out 100 of them really, really wore me down.
6 kilos isn't a lot when you think about it. When you do it in training, you're like, oh, yeah, 6 kilos, you do a few of them. Do you think the fact that it's the last station adds a few kilos to them? Like, did you do wall balls before thinking 6 kilos isn't much, and then you got to that last station and thought this is actually 60 kilos?
Yeah. Everyone always talks about like 100 wall balls unbroken, and you sort of think like, if you've got a bit of an ego or whatever, you're like, oh, yeah, I can do that. But yeah, at the end of everything, once you've just about given it your all, and then you're faced with 100 wall balls and everyone's looking at you yelling, it sort of definitely tears you down. But if you break it up into sections of 10s or 20s or 25s, you can definitely knuckle deep and get into it.
Which one surprised you on the opposite sense? Which one was easier than you thought it was going to be?
Probably the row or the ski. I've always found to be a dominant or a bit more experienced at the ergs, so I felt like I had a lot of strength going into those. The sled push and pull, I thought I did quite well at, but I also found that I left a lot of time on the table. That's one thing you just don't really know with coming into it. You can do as many sims as you like, but on game day, things are going to be different, especially when you're surrounded by so many other athletes running around trying to set amazing times.
2 weeks till Melbourne. What is 1, 2, 3, a number of things that you're going to do differently and you're focusing on during this prep compared to last prep going into Melbourne?
Been focusing more on my sort of running and sprint training, so trying to sort of run at a certain speed, a certain lower speed, and I'm going to try and gauge that through the whole 8Ks. The Hyrox is pretty much 50% running and the rest is split up into the exercises, so you have to be a really good runner to set a really good time. So that's generally my focus at the moment, and just being deep in the cave and wanting more and just to keep pushing on.
Talk about being deep in the cave. Where do you think your motivation comes from? Growing up, obviously we know each other a while now. You never really had that urge that I noticed anyway, to sort of push yourself to the limit. I'm sure you did when you played AFL and you played footy, and all reports you were great at those. But as you got older, you sort of wanted to get a little bit more. Where do you think that sort of sparked?
Maybe from my past experience, just working away overseas, meeting a few different people that just really wanted to excel and work hard and drive. And then I think I got fed like a few, you're turning 30 soon, your body's going to start hurting and you're going to start slowing down. And I was just thinking to myself, like, that doesn't make sense. I think I was 29 and I had a year, and I was like, I'm just going to like put myself in the best physical shape and mental shape I can be. And like, you just got to do hard things and work hard. And I just love doing these types of things. So that's where I am at the moment.
I think you're in a similar position to me in the sense that when people say to me, why the fuck would you do that? It just like, it boosts you up a little bit.
Yeah.
I did done the half marathon, did the 30K run the other day, and the amount of people were just like, why? Like, what spurs you on to want to do that? And honestly, part of it is that response. Like, when people are like, why would you do that? Wow, that sounds stupid. Nah, that's dumb. Don't do that. And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's why I want to do it. It's that little bit, I wouldn't call it arrogance, a little bit of confidence knowing that people don't want to do this. Exactly. Therefore, it's something that I want to do.
Yeah, that's the average thing. It's the easy thing to not do it. So you got to want it, and you got to want the drive to just push and do hard things. Doing these harder things is going to make your life easier across all boards and all aspects of life.
Definitely great. I think it's there's a quote, and it's, do easy things now for a hard life later, or do hard things now for an easy life later. I think that's so relatable, and training sort of sets an example for other aspects of your life. If you can go and we did a gym session, pretty tough, 40 minutes of just, as you said, the pain cave. It's like, well, what else could I tackle today that's going to be harder than just going in the pain cave for 40 minutes where I love the exercise, but at the same time, like, you don't love it, but you love it,
Yeah, of course.
You love the outcome and you do love it in the moment, but the reason you do it isn't always because you love it right there and then. The reason you do it is because you're doing the hard things now, so then you can get the easy things later.
Exactly right. It's just it's one step towards your goal, or one brick towards building that house that you want. You're doing these things now to make your life easier later. And that's half the reason why I like to do it. just progression in my life, and it keeps me accountable. It's 1 hour of the day where you can get out and do something hard, and then it sets you up for the rest of your day.
Spoke a little bit about their goals. How do you set your goals? Do you have a goal setting process? What are some current goals that you're working to at the moment?
Generally, I'll set like a larger goal, something that might seem unachievable or like hard to achieve. I'm definitely going through the process now of looking what can I do next and what might seem silly. But they're just also things that I enjoy doing and like see myself wanting to get into or achieve.
How do you keep yourself accountable when you set these goals? So you obviously went to your house before and you have these on the mirror. Do you check in with those regularly? Is that something that helps you keep you accountable each day? You set it up, you're like, all right, that's how I got to do it. Do you tell people? How do you find your accountability process?
I think it's just all in my own head. It's just discipline. I keep myself disciplined. Every time I step into that gym, like I'm just like everybody else. I don't, I love going to gym, but there are days where I don't want to do anything. I just want to stay home and sit on the couch. But all you got to do is get yourself there or step out the door, put your shoes on, and, you're into it. I go to the gym half the reason because I'm surrounded by a community that are like me. So I get there and we start working out and, all my worries are gone and I do my work and I go home.
It's funny how exercise provides you energy. Like there's days where I go home and I sit on the couch and I'm still getting no more energy. I think it was the other day anyway. I didn't want to do anything. I'd gone for a walk, already gone to the gym. So like I'd hit my quota, but I was just super flat. And I'm like, told myself that morning that I was going to do a run. And I couldn't do the run, still injured. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do the bike all day. I kept telling myself, and I got to like 4:00 and I'm like, nah. And then it was weird. My body just went. Like in my head, I was saying no, but physically, my shoes were on. I was in the car. I was on the bike. I got to the bike and I'm like, oh, I'll just do an easy zone 2 run.
Yeah.
And then 3 minutes in, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a hard session.
Yeah.
So then by 20 minutes, I felt alive. Yeah. And it was just crazy how I could be on that couch scrolling, still being like, oh, where's my energy? But it's like energy creates energy. So you just got to do those hard things. And as you said, it's easy as putting on your shoes. Like even if your head, I'm not going to go, but I'm just going to put on my shoes or I'm just going to get in the car and see where I go. It's like tricking your mind sometimes to creating those habits to keep going.
Yeah, exactly right.
You also talk about environment in there and the community, how important that is. How important has community been in this prep? Have you changed any of your training style, who you're training with this prep compared to last prep?
Yeah, I think I was unsure of the space when I was doing my last Hyrox event. I was obviously very happy with what I achieved, but I've definitely switched up more. I'm doing a lot more sprints, sort of as I said earlier, and trying to sort of forget or do less of the erg work, which I'm already sort of happy with. Mindset's definitely changed towards thinking about the goal and thinking about the outcome of the goal. And I have been trying to surround myself with people that I think are on a higher level than me, that are more experienced, and just learning from them. Like we learn every single day, and I'm more than happy to take in information from everyone else.
I think a key thing you said then was learning from people above you. Obviously, we train together. It's good for me because you're above me, so I get something to aspire to. But then sometimes it's not probably as beneficial for you. So then how important has it been? We went that session the other day, Trainworthy. So we've got Will, Meg, who've just gone over to America. Yep. We've got Nick, who's gone to be world #1. Even, got Brett, Zeb, all those boys and girls, just weapons everywhere. How important has that been to surround yourself with people who are some of the world's best?
Yeah, it's huge. Just like sitting there talking about technique, being on the row, the ergs, all those types of things, about your burpee broad jumps. It just sets you up for success, really. Just like being around these types of people that want you to step up to another level. They're already saying to myself, why aren't you doing pro? I've always sort of done open and doing my first pro next March in Brisbane. So it's already inspiring and uplifting for myself for them to say, dude, what are you doing?
You spoke about your last event. So if anyone doesn't know, Jesse, you got third in your division, first time competing.
Yeah.
Excellent effort. How has that motivated you? Have you kept your hunger? What's the goal for the next event?
Just improving on myself, really. Working out my strengths and weaknesses and sort of moving forward from there. I mean, I do it to myself, not because I want to be the best, but just to prove to myself that I can. Yeah, just getting up every day and getting outside, going for a run, going to the gym. These are the things that I generally enjoy doing, and not because I have to or not because I want to do this, but ultimately that's something, potential success, and that's what I'm going to work towards.
So you spoke about before the goal setting and you're trying to get better and better. What's your fuck you goal? What is that outrageous goal that you're sort of like, oh, that's what I want to go for. I'm gunning for that.
It'd be amazing to make the championships and go to the Hyrox championships. I think that would be a pretty cool goal for myself. Doing an Ironman is something I've always thought about, whether it's just doing the half first and then seeing how I go and thinking about a full. I think like to achieve something on that level is a pretty like fuck you thing.
Definitely. I would love to complete an Ironman.
Yeah.
We spoke about before how sometimes you just want to do things because people say, why the hell would you want to do that? And that's one of those things. Obviously the challenge of it just to finish it, but then people were like, what?
Why?
It's 12 hours of just non-stop. I look at people now and I'm like, why would you do that? And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's having that mindset of, I don't want to do this. There's so many times where I'm in the gym now or I'm at home. I'm really trying to become the person who does things I don't want to do because it's going to make it easier later. And exactly. The Ironman is a prime example. And I look at things and events, I'm like, man, that would be so hard.
So hard.
I guess I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah.
That's next on the list.
Yeah.
So watch this space. Could be an Ironman coming soon.
Yes.
One thing I think people get wrong about success is balance. Everyone thinks that balance is so important, but I think to be really successful, you have to sacrifice something. Like you can't be doing X while you're doing X. You can't be scrolling every day and wanting to be the best athlete you can without putting in the work. So you're maybe sacrificing sleep, maybe sacrificing social time. What do you think are some of the biggest sacrifices that you had to make during your training prep?
Yeah, definitely social time. I think, I've dropped going out for like your social beer or your social lunch and things like that just because I've got to get up in the morning or go for a run, go train, go for a swim, go for a bike ride. I generally don't like to, I still need my quality sleep. That's one thing I definitely need. I think just social time, but we get it in different ways and we find it in different ways. I'm not generally not drinking anymore. I'm not going out. So, you have wins and you have losers and it's a win to me.
Do you think drinking, I guess in the Australian culture, drinking is such a, probably world culture, but definitely Australian culture is so frowned upon if you're not drinking. How do you deal with the peer pressure when you go to events and everyone's like, why aren't you drinking? No, just have one drink, have this. How do you find that and how do you keep consistent and not cave in with the old rubber arm like I have?
I think you just sort of fall like, it was like that at the beginning when I was doing Hyrox and when I was trying to get like to the sort of level that I am, people were sort of, why? Why not? Like, oh, just drink. And now I think that I've actually shown, I've been doing it for the past X amount of years that people now understand the reason why I don't drink. And now they're actually saying like, oh yeah, like good on you. And I wish I could be like that and those types of things. So you sort of just catch 22 and, doesn't really, I don't fall victim to wanting to have a beer or things like that. I'll generally have a wine, but that would just be with my mum.
I think what you said there is it becomes your identity of being someone who doesn't drink. When you're just getting out of that stage, everyone's so accustomed to you being that person that drinks that they're sort of they're still trying to drag you back because they want to see you have fun with them, and they think the only way you can have fun is when you are together and you're drinking. Whereas like if you can just, it's like anything, it's just that start. Once you can get that start and you build a bit of momentum, then it becomes a bit easier later because you're like, I've done this before, and you're just building a record of success within your brain, knowing that, well, I didn't do it last time, so I have to do it this time.
Resilience.
So just then about momentum, how important has momentum been for you? Do you have, I know one of the things in Atomic Habits, one of the number one rules is you never miss twice. So if you're goal setting and you're doing a diet and you have a cheat meal, the key rule is to not do it again. Same as training, you miss a session, you can't miss twice. How important has momentum been for you?
I think you just got to take day by day. You can't really shoot yourself just for having a bad day, whether you're missing training or you eat a shit meal or, you know, you have a big night out. We all fall victim, or we all have our own vices. I just sort of like to think of it as it's the 1% towards your greater goal. And once I achieve that greater goal, then I'm looking for another goal. If you're constantly walking up or climbing that mountain, then, you know, I'm succeeding, and I'm succeeding in life.
Spoke about 1% there. Obviously, LSKD has made it a bit of a famous phrase. What does 1% better for you look like if you were to explain to someone?
Generally across the day, just be spending time with family and friends, working out, whether it's run, gym, or swim, something like that. Spending quality time, and generally having a good hard day's work and putting time and energy towards my goals.
When you look at your training sessions and you're running, are you looking at that as markers? So, okay, I did this run at this speed. Next time you go run, are you going to try to get 1% better? Is that something you do consciously?
Nah, because I think you have good days and bad days. You know, sometimes I go to the gym and I might finish the workout and think like, how many steps backward have I taken, or why am I feeling like this? But in the end, it's another day, and I've put in the work to go to the gym that day. So I've taken that step forward. I guess that's my sort of 1% motto.
I think a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, I mean myself in the past, think that it has to be 100% every time. And I was such a victim to, okay, if I can't go 100%, then there's no point in me going. Whereas like those days that you can't go 100%, but you still turn up and give 40, you're still contributing to 100%. A better version of yourself.
100%, yeah. Yeah, it's the days that nobody sees, and it's the time you put in that, you know, lead you to success and lead you to where you want to be. Obviously, game day, performance day is another thing, but just staying disciplined within yourself. Like, no one can see how disciplined you are and how much time you're going to sacrifice to put towards your goals.
I say the true test of character is what you do when no one's watching.
That's exactly
so I think
right.
It's so important. I think when I was growing up, I didn't understand it. I'd do footy training. I remember this one session, and we're doing a boxing session, and we're doing your running, we're doing your warm-up, and I took a shortcut. And I remember Bolchi was behind me, and he called me out and like told the coach, and I was so filthy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you calling me out like that? And I don't think he meant it in this way, but for some reason it's really stuck with me. And I think it was like a bit of my identity was like someone who I just need to do what I need to do. So I'll do things and just like, but I did it. Whereas like now I look back on it and it's like, yeah, but you did it, but at what percentage? Could you have done more? And you do gym sessions, and I think to myself now, okay, have I given everything I've got? Even if I've got 30% and I give all my 30%, I still give it 100%. But the days I got 100%, I can give 100%. Well, then that's fantastic. But it's just about not taking shortcuts. And it took me a while to learn that. And I think it's so important to have consistency.
Yep.
How long would you say you've been training consistently now?
Probably for the past coming on 2 years now, I've been sort of dedicating my time and effort and training towards this sort of Hyrox space or high endurance hit style training. Would say about 2 years now.
I've got a story for you. You know the story of the tortoise and the hare?
Yeah.
I heard the story the other day, and I think I've had this whole story wrong. And I don't know if other people see this story like this, but I'm going to give you my take on it.
Sure.
So I always got taught, that we know the story. So the tortoise and the hare, they're racing.
Yeah.
The hare takes off. He gets halfway and he gets so confident, cocky, that he has a sleep.
Yeah.
He wakes up and then the tortoise is at the finish line.
Yeah.
But I thought, what if it wasn't that he was cocky and arrogant and he fell asleep?
Yeah.
What if it was he burnt out?
Yeah, he was puffed.
He was puffed and he's tired and he couldn't go anymore because he'd just gone so hard so fast. And it's such a lesson that I'm trying to implement in myself is not to go hard and fast. You need to times where you can go hard and fast, but to get to where you need to get to, you need to be able to go slow to be able to evaluate your options when to go faster. Yeah. And I thought it was very interesting because I don't know what sport, maybe I heard it from someone else, I don't know, but I thought maybe he wasn't arrogant. Maybe he was just puffed and tired and he couldn't go anymore.
Yeah. Sort of almost relates with that same thing when they say, if you want to go fast, go alone, or if you want to go far, then go together. That type of motto.
For sure. I was listening to Diary of CEO on the way here, and he mentioned skill stacking. So what that means was a lot of athletes, everyone used to think that, say Tiger Woods, for example, that he specialized on one skill for so long. And a lot of people think that is sort of the key to success. You got to do one thing forever. But then he referred it to a Roger Federer. And Roger Federer didn't always play tennis growing up. His parents made him play every single sport. And what that gave Roger was he was able to skill stack a range of different skills to get him where he needed to get to. Another one was Lomachenko, the boxer. So his feet are really good. He's had a stupid amount of wins. And one of the reasons that made him so good was he used to do dance lessons when he was younger. Yeah. So that made his feet the way it is, make him such a good boxer. Growing up, what do you think was some of the skills that you learned that help you become the person you are today?
Cross country, I'd definitely say was a big factor in my experience. That was probably primary school and high school. I was never any good. I'd probably make, the Gold Coast. I think I made Queensland trials once, and then I was out, and no one ever sort of thought, I'd do anything more than that, and I didn't think I'd probably do anything more than that. But I've always been around football, your NRL, AFL, like you said earlier. So I've always been pretty active towards these types of sort of sports and disciplines and things like that. And I've got energy to burn, so I like to put it somewhere.
What are some of the key lessons that sport taught you?
Obviously being disciplined, being in a team sport, like working together. Probably about it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting now. I spoke to Brendan Turton on the podcast the other week, and he spoke about triathlons and Ironmans, for example, and how they're individualized sports, but they're not, because you need to be able to train with people. And one of the things that I do right now is I have a gym, but I just go by myself, and I just get so much more out of sessions when I train with people. Yeah, one, it pushes you. Two, it keeps you accountable. Yeah. Three, it's just way more fun. Yeah. So I think it's so important to be able to find
happy medium.
Happy medium. So have sessions where you can go by yourself, because sometimes it's like therapy. Going for a run by yourself or a swim by yourself is very therapeutic, can be like meditation. Yeah. But then you need to be able to find that mix of finding people who are going to push you to get better. Yeah. All right, let's go back to Hyrox. So I want you to we're going to go through the stations. I want you to give me one tip for each station. All right, so start. Ski erg. I've done my 1K run. I'm into the ski. What am I doing? What's one tip you can give me?
Well, let's start with the coming out the gate.
Okay, let's go. Back it up.
Everyone's just like a bull at a gate, waiting to go. They put this like motivational like talk on, and the clock starts counting down from like 2 minutes. Everyone's standing there looking at each other like freaking out almost. Like, what is this? Especially if it's your first time. It's dark. Everyone goes hard on that. It's like 800 meters. It's not even a K. Everyone goes pretty hard, and you're coming out and there's just a bunch of other people in the space as well. So I don't know. Be careful not to just go from 0 to 100 very quick there and almost taper into it. You know, you're going to be the first 10 minutes of Hyrox is going to go very, very fast. So, you know, you're going to be into the ski before you know it. So sort of you want to like use that gradual curve of your circadian rhythm before you get into like the sort of hard working parts of halfway of Hyrox. Then you're going to the ski erg. Set your time. Don't think you've got everything and, you know, you want to go out and do a 3-minute 51K because you're going to be wrecked going to that run. Set a time, stick with it. It doesn't matter who's in front or behind you. Set those goals. After that, we've got, I think it's the push.
Push, yeah.
Yep. Bit of a tough one, heavy on the legs, especially when you then have to go into the run. Can't tell you anything, but like you got to put in the reps there and you got to work hard. But you can save a lot of time if you're going hard there. After that,
Sled pull.
Yep. Same thing again. That rope is pretty stretchy, so watch it doesn't pull back on you.
Yeah, okay.
But I do enjoy that one. I think I've got a strong upper body where I can actually pull it forward, but you also got to utilize your legs and walk forward to walk it back.
Mm-hmm. Both your broad jumps.
Yeah.
Skip them if possible.
Look, there's technique with everything, and that's something that I've been learning while training with like Will and Meg.
What have you learnt, if you can describe it rather than have to show it? Unless you want to turn the cameras and get them floor.
I'm 6'2", 6'3".
Weird flex, okay.
Yeah. So I've got to get to the ground hard and fast, and it's a long way to go. So using your center of gravity, I'll usually jump up with my 2 feet and then leap off from there. But if you want to sort of stay low, one step up, use that second leg to jump forward, there's many ways to sort of get through that and to save yourself some time there too.
Rower?
Technique, and just being strong and staying with your designated time. If you can smash that out, then you're going to come out of it into the run and be very happy with where you are.
Farmer's carry?
Just smash it, nail it.
Just run whole time?
Pretty much.
You didn't break, did you?
Nah, no break. 200 meters, so just lock those shoulders, get a solid grip, and then just go for it. But that was the weirdest feeling actually after doing the farmer's carry and then getting into a 1K run, having a sore upper body was weird. Maybe I just couldn't like swing my shoulders, but strange.
Lunges.
Yeah, lunges, just keep pressing forward. Use the padding on the ground to get that little bounce.
Okay.
Just be in your own head about it. Usually they break it up into like sort of 10 meter, 15 meter sort of segments. So just keep pumping them out. If you need a break, stop there. Don't put the bag down. Just keep working.
Touching on that, how did you have any breaks when you did yours?
With the
just
lunges?
The overall.
When I got to the lines of each exercise after the run, I would sometimes sit there and either gather my thoughts or take a couple deep breaths, 5 seconds like that, and then get into the work. Probably something that I think I'll do again, or I might try and do it in a subtly different way.
Mm-hmm. All right, wall balls,
technique, again, just having a solid squat. I think the rules have also changed a bit too, so they're going to be pretty hot on like bum to the ground and hitting that pad properly.
You have to break 90 or hit 90 degrees. Is that the rule?
Yeah, that's right. It has to be below parallel, and you got to make sure you hit that upper pad for us. But yeah, just having a really good technique there and just putting in the hours beforehand is going to set you up.
Which run was the hardest?
It was either the first or the last.
Okay.
First goes by very, very fast, but the last also drags out.
No, just champion mindset in the last one. Just want to get it done, so you're going a little bit faster.
I mean, if
Were
I
you
probably
just
looked at my
fatigued?
times, yeah, you'd probably think that it was fatigue setting in, or maybe I was like saving myself for the wall balls or for the dreaded wall balls. But let's hope I've trained a bit towards those burpee broad jumps and the wall balls that they won't really affect me this time.
Looking forward to it. Where do you draw inspiration from?
People that I train with, friends and family. I mean, we all have our, the Instagram, YouTube.
Who's your Instagram crush?
Probably Nick Bear. Nick Bear's an absolute weapon. He's just done Hyrox Dallas and set a pretty good competitive time for the men's pro. I didn't seem like he was too happy with it, but yeah, he does some pretty cool things and he gets to do some even better. Yeah, definitely an idol.
Anyone else? Just Nick Bear. He's a bit of a beast. Nick Bear's definitely changed, I feel, the hybrid space. He's probably one of the first hybrid athletes. He's, I don't know his weight, but he's jacked, he's tall, he's fast. He's just very unfair, to be honest. So I am interested in looking forward to what he does.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah. Any books? Any books that you could recommend that have helped?
Do Hard Things.
Is that a book?
Yeah, it's a book. I can't recall the author, but pretty much states exactly what the name is. Talks about doing hard things in life is going to set you up for an easy life. Exactly what we were just talking about earlier. David Goggins has always got some pretty decent books, but real heavy on the... I like to audible his stuff and I can only take it in bite-sized pieces.
I was speaking to one of our mates, Jordan, the other day, and he was saying he listened to it. He's like, "Oh, listen to it." And he's told me a few times now, and I just haven't got around with it. I just haven't felt low enough, or maybe I haven't felt high enough. I don't know which one, but I just don't need to feel like a piece of shit. Yeah. Like I'm pretty content with how I feel with myself. Just some of the things I listened to. I think it was his Huberman one.
Yep.
And he's a different beast.
He is.
It's very interesting, just how he goes about his life, and I think. We sort of spoke about before about balance and sacrifice. And for me, I think it's important to talk about finding that balance. It's like David Goggins is a special human. You don't need to be David Goggins. Let's look at David Goggins' past as well. Like when he was obese, overweight, no one wants to be there. That's not where you want to be. But then also, you don't really want to be on the other end where he is just an absolute psycho. Like it's just finding out what works for you. Like where's your middle ground that you can work with? Yeah.
He wanted it and he chased it and that's where he is in life, and he's done some of the hardest things, in the world, from, his military background and Hell Week and everything like that.
I think he's did like 3 Hell Weeks.
Yeah. I mean, like something like that is actually like pretty appealing. Personally, I think that
what's your
type
space?
Training, it would be pretty cool to get into, just to see. Just like I'm just intrigued. Yeah,
I definitely do that. I look at things and what people do, and I'm like, how hard would that be? Would I be able to achieve that?
Yeah.
I definitely go over my head into what I can achieve. It's
Yeah.
probably a weakness of mine in the sense that I'm like, wouldn't be too bad. And you get into
Just
it and you're
deep
like,
water.
what have I
just
done?
deep water, eh?
Yeah, water's not my friend either. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Probably wasn't like so much as a piece of advice, but when I was working away for 7 or 8 years on the yachts, and I got to sort of work for this older gentleman who was at the time 60 years old, and I got to sort of just see how he could live his life, and he would always drop little hints of advice, and I could ask him questions, and I spent a lot of time with this guy. I got to work out with him, have saunas, and he was a very high profile person that had an amazing yacht. Just watching how this guy sort of set his days up and got to sort of do what he got to do was something that was ingrained into me. And I thought, like, if I want to be a successful person, I need to have this type of a program and I need to stick to it. I think that sort of converted into advice for me, and that's how I'm trying to live my life.
What does success look like for you?
just pursuing goals and ticking boxes in my own head. You know, whether I'm pretty content with everything in life, and I'd like to achieve like my outrageous goals, but I'm also happy to achieve my day-to-day goals and weekly goals.
The advice that you've received or the information that you got from watching someone, what would be advice to someone, a 16-year-old Jesse? Actually, no, let's go 18. You just finished schoolies. You're an adult now. What advice are you giving to 18-year-old Jesse?
The world owes you absolutely nothing. And if you want something, if you really, really want something, you're going to have to work extremely hard to get it or to have it. And just go hard, kid.
Thank you for your time. It's been a good chat. I feel like I'm ready to go for Hyrox. This episode will drop the week before we compete. So it's a nice timing. So it'll go into there, and then we'll do a bit of a recap on the vlog of how you go, and everyone can check in.
Yeah.
Before you leave, what is your superpower?
My superpower. I've probably never been asked that question before.
That's why I'm here.
Man, that's a big question. What's my superpower? What am I really good at? I can't even think of anything.
I'll give you one. I think consistency.
Yeah.
Like, you've been very consistent eating meat, rice, and eggs for dinner for the last few years. Training never quit. Jack Jeffress speaks about how you have the biggest engine of anyone he's ever seen. I think that's come from consistently training over a period of time. Just being able to train next to you as well. I remember at school, I was runner, so I was pretty confident in my ability, and we did track the other week. I think we did the 1K. I think it was a 1K rep.
Yeah.
And you were at the finish line. I was over the other side of the track. So it's just a bit of a credit to yourself on how much you've been training. And one day, I might beat you at something.
Hey.
Maybe like a 20-minute sprint or something. That short distance. Anyone wants to follow your journey, where can they go?
Obviously on Instagram at Jesse Wolter-Smith. Posting different types of highlights from Hyrox and life on there.
Mad, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.